and welcome to Horror Rewind. This is Kelly Florence.
And I'm Campbell Florence.
And tonight we are talking about the movie Overlord. So this movie, Overlord, is produced by J.J. Abrams. And we know J.J. Abrams, of course, from the TV show Lost and directing both Star Trek and Star Wars movies. And so we're really excited to see this. It's directed by Julius Avery, written by Billy Ray, and it's got a cast that I'm not totally familiar with, but we are excited to see it. So the reason that Campbell's coming with me to this movie is that this movie takes place during World War II, and I would say Campbell is a World War II aficionado.
Yep.
So what it got you interested in learning more about World War II?
I don't know. I don't really know. I just started. I guess I was just interested in it, and then I just started learning more about it.
Now you were able to visit a World War II memorial. Well, you visited one in Washington D.C. and one in France. Do you want to tell the listeners about that?
Yep. So in Washington D.C., they had a memorial for all the people. And they were divided up into sections. There were 50 sections for each state from which people died on the beaches. And then in France, there's where they buried all of the people who died on the landings.
So you went to Normandy?
Yep.
This movie Overlord takes place on the eve of D-Day. And so that would have been what Normandy Beach was, right, Campbell?
Yep.
And so we're excited to see. And of course it's going to have a horror twist. And I've heard that there's a lot of gore. How do you feel about gore, gross stuff in your horror movies?
I think it makes it more of a horror movie if there's gore in it.
So you won't be too bothered by it?
No.
This movie has a budget of $38 million. And so far, it's getting some positive reviews. Currently, it's 89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. I know as more reviews come in, that could change, but so far, so fresh. So we will check in with you after the movie and give our thoughts. We are post Overlord. And Campbell, what did you think?
It was a good movie. It was pretty historically accurate because, the things that they did in the movie, how they landed to try to take out the... What was that again?
A communication tower.
Yeah, it was a communication tower for the Germans to talk to each other about what's going on, and they had to destroy it so then the Germans couldn't call for reinforcements once the Americans and Canadians and British landed.
So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid movie. I feel like it was a cross between Saving Private Ryan and Resident Evil or something. It had a solid war movie feel and story, but then there was also this supernatural element with reanimating corpses and trying to make these super soldiers. And they were like zombies, but they were strong. They had superhuman strength. They could move pretty fast, and they were pretty gross.
Yeah.
My only complaint is that there was only one woman in the whole movie. And I guess there were two if you consider just a severed head a woman, but I don't.
Well, I guess they are trying to be historically accurate, but yeah, that's the thing. And when you're doing World War II, you can't really fit a lot of women in because there weren't a lot of women in the war. If they were on the Soviet front and it was about the Soviets during one of their operations to take Poland, then there could have been more women because women were allowed into the Russian army because there were so few people who wanted to join the Russian army.
Okay, well, yeah, that's interesting. I always, wonder how they could make it World War II movies include a few more women. And, we know about women who were soldiers and spies and nurses and all sorts of roles, but I still appreciated the movie even if there weren't a ton of women in it. It had a diverse cast too, and after the movie started, I did recognize a couple of the people. We just watched that Jack Ryan show on Amazon, and one of the actors from that was in there. He's also on Orange is the New Black, so that was fun. And I feel like this could be set up for a sequel, because how could all of these super soldiers be dead?
I don't know, because they're pretty hard to kill, and like they show that they're pretty hard to kill. Like they shoot one of them like a bunch of times and they don't die. So
Yeah, and like she even shot one in the head and it didn't die, which was nuts. But it seems like flame and fire can kill them. So if they were all contained in that lab, I guess they did all die. But I don't know. I thought it was solid. I enjoyed it.
yeah, it was a good movie. I think one way that they could have survived is since they have like superhuman strength, that they might have been able to survive beneath the rubble. They might have been able to survive, and then like there could be a like prequel or sequel, another movie where like they're digging it up to build a new church, and then they'll escape, and maybe the same soldiers have to like come back and try to deal with them.
Yeah, it could be fun. So tell me, after D-Day, which is what this movie ends on, how much longer did the war go?
About a year and 6 months.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes people think, oh well, D-Day, that ended the war, and maybe it was the beginning of the end, but it still was a long road ahead. How many more battles or major conflicts did they have after that?
I don't know. There's a lot of them. Because then there was like the breakout of Normandy, where they had to like they landed on like the small pocket and they had to try to get out of there. Then there was like securing France and pushing into Germany and like the homeland of Germany and something like that.
So did a lot of soldiers, do you know, did a lot of soldiers end up getting sent home after D-Day, or did they have to continue fighting like they did in the movie?
They had to continue fighting because like a bunch of soldiers were conscripted into the army to fight, and they didn't want them to all go home because then they would have like no army to fight.
That's so interesting. Okay, well, let's rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie. And what do you think we should use for our scale?
We could use the weird super soldier zombies.
Okay, so just like that guy with part of his face blown off, we'll use his face. How many do you give this movie?
I give it about an 8. It was a pretty good movie. I liked it. It had a diverse cast. Yeah, there weren't a lot of women in it, but I guess they were trying to be like historically accurate. And I'm just saying that like if it was on the Soviet Eastern Front, they could have had more women in it. But no, it was on D-Day. So I guess since they're trying to be historically accurate, that's kind of okay, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, coming right out of the movie, ranking it, I also would give it an 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid movie. It was well made. The acting was good. I appreciated a lot of the long takes and the long shots that they had, and just a solid movie all around.
Yeah, it was a good movie. There was a lot of gore.
Oh yes, we forgot to mention the gore. The gore was top notch.
Yeah, lots of gore.
Yeah, I thought it was well done. So if you want to check out a fun action horror movie, we recommend Overlord.
Yep, we recommend Overlord.
Until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.
See you in the horror section.